Okay, so first of all, I'm not trying to scam people, but due to YouTube and censorship, I have to be careful with the language. I was, I think, fairly as truthful as you can get with the last video, just giving the legal facts. So now we're going to jump into, for whatever you were going to call it, the more speculative commentary, whatever you're going to call it. But if you want more blunt approach, I'll do that for the channel members. I'll do this even for the lower tiers, and memberships start off fairly affordable. But let's just get on to the case itself. What I can talk about. And again, I'm not at all trying to defend Scoville. I'm just giving my expert opinion, how much I know about the legal rules here and what they mean. Does he have a very good case? Yes, he does. But let's do devil's advocate for Marilyn, who's subject of the lawsuit. Can Marilyn get out of this? And again, it doesn't help that Marilyn is not a very good researcher. Again, I'm not doing this as polemical, like, oh, I don't like her. I don't. She's very stupid. She's very moronic, and she's prone to these outbursts. However, just saying analytically, I think she's messing up at several stages. So she's saying she's fine, and her argument is fairly simple, namely that Scoville already suffered a catastrophic loss of his reputation, right? Because the lawsuit is strictly that Marilyn's video are doing a lot of damage to his reputation. I think that's true. So Marilyn has to deny that. So what she's going to say is that his reputation was already basically in the gutter, therefore she didn't really do that much damage. And the nicest you can say is she's being half correct. And I really can't defend Marilyn too much because she's lying. And her reasons for lying are not very good. So she, for whatever reason, refused to see the Relatable Reese video or the Scoville video. She did look at certain portions, to be fair, of part of what he said, but she's clearly not really paying attention to the whole thing. And that's critical because she lied about Scoville and Reese. So, for instance, she said, oh, he's denying he committed the crime. No, he's not. No, he's not. He did not deny on the live responding to the Q&A. He affirmed, yes, he did commit the crime. Now, he is gaslighting his audience. He's minimizing what he did, but he's not denying he committed a crime. He's not denying he committed assault. So Marilyn's just lying, or the people she's relying upon for notes or research doing a terrible job. Same thing with Relatable Reese. All Relatable Reese said, now, I want to be careful here. Relatable Reese is a grifter. She's a liar. She's very untrustworthy, but her position, official position, seems to be this. One, she is glad that Scoville is suing Marilyn. And two, and this is a little tricky because she's lied about this for a long time, but she's denying that Scoville is a child molester. Again, I am not taking anyone's side. I would reluctantly have to agree with her. Now, she is also gaslighting her audience because for a long time she just kept saying, oh, it's a rumor. Like the things he did, it's a rumor. No, it's real. It's very real. However, she seems to believe, or at least is just saying she believes, Scoville's story that the incident was a case of statutory. Technically, he's correct, right? That's what he's found guilty of. However, he is skipping over that it was coercive. He's making it seem as if this is just a love affair gone wrong. There is no evidence of that. The evidence is he coercively victimized a young girl. However, technically speaking, legally speaking, he is guilty and was charged with statutory. That's what he was put in prison for. However, Reese is trying to play both sides, basically. But that said, she is correct. He is not guilty of that crime, right? So Marilyn was saying that Reese was trashing her and her family. She wasn't doing that, at least not publicly. What she said was the complete opposite, saying she doesn't like Marilyn, but she's not going to talk about Marilyn's children or husband. Now, maybe she does that privately, but publicly, she's not going to get into that. So she's saying, listen, this is his lawsuit. I agree with it. I think Marilyn is out of control, but I'm not taking a stance. So she's saying she's neutral. I don't really believe her. For channel members, we'll get into why I don't believe her. But just for this commentary, so as to say, I have serious doubts she's telling the whole truth. That said, she is not really relevant, right? except for one thing, and this is where it's going to get tricky. I don't think this is enough for Marilyn to, quote, get out of paying damages. She's probably going to pay a lot of damages, frankly. Unless she gets insanely lucky with a good judge, she's going to pay up a lot of money to Scoville. There's no doubt in my mind about that. However, what she can say, and this is where it's going to get problematic, though, it's not really going to help Marilyn too much, and this is why I'm going to explain it. So Reese put out this thing called the long con video, which is basically this huge audio file where Scoville is freely admitting he's been grifting, cheating, lying, and taking money from various women. But here's the problem. Those are not crimes. Right? Now, Reese related a lot of anecdotes where he may have committed crimes with drugs and other things. Maybe. But the fact is, the long con audio, which did do a devastating amount of damage to his channel. I should know this because I've done entire videos tracking the amount of subscribers lost and trying to be very precise with the numbers. So I would guesstimate from the long con video, it's not exact, he did lose at least several thousand people. So the obvious question is this. If he's suing for damages against Marilyn, why is he not suing Relatable Reese? Right? Legally speaking, Marilyn's lawyers can bring that up. But there's a problem, because the long con did do a lot of damage. But then Marilyn stepped in and started doing what she's doing. And good or bad, these are separate things. These are separate things. What Reese was talking about was the long con. Right? So she was providing evidence that, yes, he's a grifter, he's a con artist, but she never went into, well, is this guy some kind of rapist? She wasn't going into that. And in her recent videos, like her most recent live, I heard her from myself, I saw her for myself, she is explicitly denying, saying, I don't think that's the right kind of language with him. I would not be comfortable saying that. So now she's taking a much firmer stance. I categorically deny that. I don't think that's what happened. Nor did the long con video give any evidence of that either. And this is very critical. So it is true, the long con video did do a lot of damage to the Scoville channel, the lifeboat. However, Marilyn's videos are different. They are using parts of the long con, but she's emphasizing Scoville, which is true, victimizing this young 15-year-old girl. I've already gone into some more details about this. I don't want to repeat myself, because again, I want to actually earn my money here. When you guys listen to my commentary, I'm not trying to just be lazy. But the basic gist here is, due to the statutes in Vermont, he was charged and guilty of assault, but not what Marilyn is alleging. So she just messed with the documents and didn't read them properly or carefully. That's her problem. So there, Scoville can say, yes, the long con video did a lot of damage, but the Marilyn videos made him lose these additional thousands of people. Right? So all Marilyn can really say is that she did some damage, but Reese did way more damage. But that's a bit of a problem, because if Marilyn is telling the truth that Reese did all this damage, why doesn't he sue her? The problem with that is, like, why did you do your own videos? Right? In other words, if his reputation was already really damaged, you wouldn't do your videos, but you've explicitly said, I do these videos to warn people. You're saying he's dangerous. And any judge and the lawyers you hire, as well as his lawyers, are going to figure out the opposite. They're going to put two and two together. You're going to say, oh, okay, you're saying he victimized this young girl. You're saying he's habitually going to do this, right? Victimize young girls. And he's still dangerous, right? You've said that several times. I just heard you say that now. You're saying he's literally dangerous to women and to young girls. You're saying that repeatedly, right? So any idiot can put two and two together. You're implying he is actively now hurting young girls. But the long con video and audio file didn't say anything like that. And Reese is now explicitly saying, no, I never said that. I'm refusing to say that. I don't think that's true. Right? Now, the truth is somewhere in the middle. He is guilty of victimizing that one young girl. We can suspect there are other girls, but we don't know that. We only know about this one case. And Marilyn has messed up several times, affirming he is currently a danger, right? To be more precise, you could have said in the past he was dangerous, but today you can't say that he's a danger to children and or women. We don't have evidence of that. All the long con video showed is he's willing to con women out of their money. But if they do it voluntarily, if they hand over the money, no crime is committed. Now, I think you could call him a grifter and a con artist, but ironically, you can't call him really a criminal because he didn't commit any crimes. Moreover, the victims aren't young girls. So these are important legal questions which Scoville's lawyers are going to bring up saying, well, you're charging me with this. I'm not guilty of that. You're also charging me with this due to the long con video, but the long con video doesn't say that. Right? And Reese did edit the long con. There are sections she didn't play. I've listened to the whole file. The whole file does not get into that. It does not get into him being a predator or preying on young girls or anything like that. He does have a section where he says he will prefer to try to fool young women, right, over young men. But he does say he does con young men too. So even if you try to use his language to prove, oh, he specifically targets young girls or very young adult women, that is true. However, some of his victims, ironically, are men, young men and old men. So, which he does admit to. He's admitted to a lot of these crimes on the lifeboat. That's what Marilyn doesn't seem to understand, is that she can't really bring that into it, right? Because she's not thinking straight. So I think she's under pressure, which again, that's fine. I don't like Marilyn myself. I'm just trying to be very clear about the sides, like what is going on with both sides. So Marilyn thinks, oh, I'm going to bring up this incident with the young girl and his bank robberies and the drugs. That cannot damage his reputation because he talked about those things. He built the lifeboat based on those things. Now he's gaslighting people. He's not telling the whole truth about what happened with that young girl. He's not telling the whole truth about the drugs. He's not telling the whole truth about the bank robberies, so on and so forth. However, in terms of the legal case, assessing damages, was his reputation harmed from not telling the whole truth about his various crimes? The answer is no. But you emphasizing certain aspect of his life did do a lot of damage to him. You meant to do a lot of damage. You celebrated doing a lot of damage to his channel. So the question is not, did you damage the channel? You're affirming you did. So the lawsuit has been won. You said over and over again, from my memory, I remember this, you were celebrating. You did a lot of damage. So he's correct. You have done a lot of damage. So you're guilty. However, could Marilyn's legal team bring in, well, Relatable Reese also did a lot of damage? I think they can, and that may soften how much Scoville is being paid, because they say, okay, yeah, but Marilyn didn't do as much damage as Relatable Reese. The problem is they were doing separate things. Relatable Reese was concentrating on the conning and the grifting and the cheating. Marilyn keeps going back to that incident, right? So there are different things going on here, right? Now, I'm actually on Marilyn's side. I think she was telling the truth about a lot of things, but she also screwed a lot of things up. She lied about a lot of things because she got lazy and stupid. And that's what Scoville is going to concentrate on, is her mistakes and not using language carefully. I think she's correct that Scoville is gaslighting people, that the victimization of that young girl is much more coercive than he's admitting. However, in a court of law, the issue will be, did you lie, Marilyn? And the answer is yes. Did you lie maliciously? Yes. Did you do damages to his channel? The answer is yes. So in the eyes of the law, that is not the issue. The issue if you told the precise truth or you got, no. The issue is, did you do damage? Yes. Did you do it through lying? Yes. He's won the case. But can she do things to mitigate that? Maybe. But I don't think she has too many options, to be totally honest.